Silk thread is produced by silkworms, primarily from the species Bombyx mori. The process of harvesting silk is a fascinating one, which involves several stages. Below is an explanation of how thread is prepared from silkworms, from the beginning of the silkworm's life cycle to the production of fine silk thread. The silk production process. 1. The life cycle of the silkworm eggs. The process begins with the eggs of the silkworm, which are laid by adult female moths. These eggs hatch into larvae after about 10 days. Larvae, caterpillar stage. The silkworm larvae, also known as caterpillars, are the silk-producing stage. Silkworms are fed a steady diet of mulberry leaves. As the larvae grow, they shed their skin several times and increase in size. Spinning the cocoon. After a few weeks of feeding, the silkworms enter the pupation stage. The larvae stop eating and start to spin their protective silk cocoon around themselves. The silkworm secretes a protein substance from two glands located near its mouth, which hardens to form silk fibers when it comes in contact with air. 2. Spinning the silk. The silkworm spins a continuous thread around itself for about 2-3 days, creating a tightly wound cocoon. Each cocoon is made up of a single long thread, which can be between 300 to 900 meters, depending on the type of silkworm. This thread is made of a protein called fibroin, which is coated with sericin, a sticky substance that helps the fibers stick together. The thread is spun in a figure-8 pattern around the silkworm, gradually building up a protective layer. 3. Harvesting the silk cocoon. Once the silkworm has finished spinning its cocoon, the next step is to harvest the cocoons. This is done after 2-3 days when the silk thread is fully formed. Boiling or steaming. In order to unravel the silk fibers, the cocoons are usually boiled or steamed. This process helps to soften and dissolve the sericin, the gummy substance that holds the fibers together, making it easier to separate the individual threads. 4. Reeling the silk thread. After boiling, the softened cocoon is unwound in a process called reeling. Several individual threads are carefully pulled, or reeled, from the cocoon, often with the help of a machine. Reeling machines or manual tools are used to pull the long silk fibers from the cocoon in a single, continuous strand. The thread is often too fine to use as it is, so multiple threads are usually wound together to form a thicker, stronger silk thread. A single cocoon typically yields about 1,000 to 1,500 meters of silk thread. 5. Spinning the silk thread. The raw silk threads that have been reeled from the cocoon are then spun to make them stronger and smoother. Spinning involves twisting the threads together to form a finer, consistent yarn suitable for weaving or knitting. Spinning can be done by hand or using industrial spinning machines. The threads are often dyed at this stage, depending on the color desired for the finished product. 6. Weaving the silk thread into fabric. Once the silk threads are ready, they are woven into fabric. Weaving can be done on traditional hand looms or on mechanical looms in larger silk factories. The silk fibers are arranged either in a plain weave, satin weave, or twill weave, depending on the desired texture and finish of the fabric. 7. Finishing. After the weaving process, the silk fabric undergoes a finishing process. This can include washing, dyeing, and additional treatments to improve the fabric's appearance and feel. The silk may be dyed in various colors, pressed for smoothness, or treated to give it a particular sheen or texture. Additional notes on silk production. Silk farming. The process of farming silkworms and harvesting their silk is known as sericulture. It has been practiced for thousands of years, especially in countries like China, India, Thailand, and Japan. Silk varieties. While Bombyx mori is the most common species used for silk production, there are other species that also produce silk, such as wild silk from the Tuza or Muga silkworms. These varieties of silk can have different textures and qualities. Byproducts of silk production. The silkworm's cocoon is not the only useful part. The sericin, which is the sticky substance that coats the silk fibers, can be used in cosmetics and is a coating in some foods. The remaining silkworm larvae, after harvesting the silk, are often used as feed for animals. Summary of steps in silk production. 1. Egg right pointing arrow. The silkworm eggs hatch into larvae. 2. Feeding right pointing arrow. Silkworm larvae feed on mulberry leaves until they grow. 3. Spinning the cocoon, right pointing arrow, the silkworm spins a protective cocoon of silk. 4. Harvesting, right pointing arrow, the cocoon is collected and boiled or steamed to loosen the fibers. 5. Reeling, right pointing arrow, the long silk fibers are unwound from the cocoon. 6. Spinning, right pointing arrow, the silk fibers are twisted together to form a stronger thread. 7. Weaving, right pointing arrow, the silk threads are woven into fabric. 8. Finishing, right pointing arrow, the fabric is dyed, treated, and prepared for use in products. Silk production is an ancient and delicate process, requiring careful attention from the moment the silkworms hatch to the final product. The result is a luxurious, natural thread that is highly prized for its softness, sheen, and strength.